I hate English.
Wish I knew how to read.
What do you want from me?
Can you relate to any of these problems? Do you know what these people are going through? Then I can help you.
Using Susan Laurie Park's Top Dog Underdog, I will show you how to explicate and write about a passage in the book. Let's go through the steps. Well, now that we've done that, why don't I actually tell you how to write about this passage? I'll explain a few steps. To get started about the steps on how to read and explicate the passage, make sure to read the question. In the play Top Dog Underdog by Susan Laurie Parks, the themes money, cards, and names are common reoccurrences. Using these themes and context clues from the passage, write a well-organized essay about how the author creates meaning in the play about the two characters. What is the meaning? The relationship between Lincoln and Booth? The first part, being the most obvious part, is to read the poem, or passage, or play. For this passage, we'll be reading pages 33 to 35 of Top Dog Underdog. Before you start reading, make sure you have pens and highlighters. These are your most important tools for writing passages and explicating poems and plays and other things. The reason you need highlighters and pens is that you want to be an active reader. So while going through the passages, you can highlight and write down anything that's important so you can reference it later when you're writing. Okay, now to the actual passage. The first thing that stands out are the names, Lincoln and Booth. If anybody's ever taken a U.S. history class, they know that Booth references to Wilkes Booth, the man who shot Lincoln. So make sure to make note of it. As we move further down, we find more information about the relationship between Booth and Lincoln. Right here it says Lincoln got shrimp and meat. Lincoln said that he wanted to eat the shrimp, and Booth said that he wanted to eat the meat. But Booth later changes his mind and says that he wants the shrimp. So Lincoln gives him the shrimp. Lincoln eventually gives in and gives Booth the shrimp, which is also important to their relationship and gives a little bit of characterization to the two men. Speaking of characterization, an important characterization in this passage is talking about how Booth and Lincoln eat. Lincoln eats slowly and carefully, Booth eats ravenously. This can give us context clues about what these people are actually like and why that is important that the author included these two parts to give us further evidence about how these two men act and what type of people they are. In just this passage, we find a large part of it is taken up by talking about cards and playing cards, and Lincoln insisting that he doesn't touch the cards, and Booth trying to push him to play cards. This gives us more insight onto how Booth and Lincoln treat each other, and it also can bring up a theme about cards and some meaning about that. The last part of the passage, the theme that is brought up the most, is money and inheritance. Booth and Lincoln talk about money and how Lincoln blew his, and how Booth wants to play with money with cards. After highlighting what you think is important, explicating, and making sure to write down notes, you should start to make a list of all the themes and ideas that you have found throughout the passage. Make a list similar to this one. Write down what you think is important, and make sure that you write down the page number in which you found these things. Go back to your question. Make sure to look it over again, and try to connect it with the list that you made and the passage that you just read. From here, you can begin to write your thesis statement. Make sure that your thesis statement includes all ideas and answers all the questions clearly. Once you write a thesis statement that you are satisfied with, start coming up with topics to make paragraphs that can back up and support your thesis statement. Brainstorm topics until you are sure that you have enough evidence to support your thesis. Once you've done this, you can begin to write your introduction. Include all topics in your introduction. This way the reader of the essay will know what to expect and what you are going to prove and how you're going to prove it in your essay. Once you finish writing your introduction, start out writing a paragraph about a topic that you think you have the most evidence from and can support the most. This way you can give a good impression for the readers and AP test readers. Finish up by writing your other paragraphs and then finally getting to your conclusion. Your conclusion is very important, and you should make sure to restate your thesis and all the ideas and evidence that you have brought up throughout the essay. Once you're done writing and have finished up with your conclusion, reread the question and reread your essay. Make sure that you have everything that you need and you have written your best supporting evidence in all your paragraphs. And that is how you explicate a passage and write an essay.